Welcome to the Hourly Podcast. In today's episode, Renzo Bassanini, Chief People Officer at Bluemont Group, shares his journey in the convenience store and restaurant industries. He discusses the importance of recruitment in creating a clear value proposition for team members. Renzo then emphasizes the significance of communication and addressing the small challenges that can impact employee satisfaction. He also highlights the nuances of staffing for the drive-through roles and the need for agility and multitasking. Renzo's focus on application flow and engagement surveys has helped reduce turnover and improve the overall employee experience at Bluemont Group. Enjoy.
This episode is brought to you by JoJo, an AI virtual recruiter powered by Sprockets. Designed for the hourly workforce, JoJo works 24/7 to source, screen, and schedule interviews with the best applicants for your business. JoJo helps reduce employee turnover and time spent hiring so you and your team can focus on other important tasks. To learn more, head to sprockets.ai/JoJo.
Renzo, it's good to have you on
Hey,
the podcast, man. How are you?
hey, thanks for the invite. Great to be here with you today.
I know, and every single time I talk with you, I feel like I leave inspired, leave with a smile on my face. So, for those that don't know you, give us a little introduction of everything Renzo and what company you're at and what you guys do.
Sure. So I'm Renzo Bassanini. I work for Bluemont Group, and we are a Dunkin' franchisee. So we have 88 locations. Next week will be 89. And we also have a donut manufacturer facility, which does over 1.5 million donuts a week. So a lot of dough, for sure. Prior to this, I spent, it's actually my second job. I spent 24 years at another great organization in the convenience store space in the Southeast. So it's been a great ride. Went from, a growing organization to another one. So it's been fun.
Yeah. So, how did you get your start in this space, right? So, I know you're in C-stores at Dunkin' now. Like, what was your first position kind of in this world?
So I started an hourly team member. So I moved from Ecuador. I'm originally from Ecuador, with different dreams to the United States. And actually, my dad said, "Hey, it's time to get a job." I was like, "Oh, okay, that's new, but let's do it."
Yep.
And there was a racetrack 3 miles from my house, so I, started there, and I did not speak a word of English, so English was not. I knew 2 words: yes and this, because I pointed at everything that I wanted, and that's right. And then I developed this love for the convenience store world and the hourly population and the the American dream, honestly, working from starting position to being fortunate enough to hold a lot of roles within the operations and HR arena. So that's how I started it. And then after my journey at Racetrack, I met through a mutual connection, met Dave, and another growing organization. I started 3 years ago, actually, at Bluemont with 51 stores, and now we are over 85 stores. So it's
Incredible.
been quite the journey.
Yeah, so you strike me as such a bright and charismatic person, and I say that now because I feel like you could have gone into operations. You have good financial chops. Like, why people? Like, why have you chosen this after probably touching a lot of different business units in your career?
Yeah. So I think I have some critical times in my life where that was defined. So my first role out of the stores at Racetrack, I wasn't heavily in operations, but I was given an opportunity to be a recruiter. So it was like, "Hey, good story behind you. Why don't you, help us recruit?" And I think it sounds weird, but I grew this sense of responsibility to help and provide opportunities to others. That this whole recruitment, this whole people aspect, how people think, how people do things, why people do things, it was just fascinating to me. So I was able to hold some other roles in training and development. I went back to operations. So like in 24 years, and half of my time was in operations, half of my time was in HR, exclusively in Bluemont as a chief people officer and human resources. But that recruitment role, I think it gave me the curiosity and the desire to say, this is where I want to be.
Hmm.
So that happened, and then I got more interested in training. I got more interested in systems and processes. I got interested on, okay, now we can hire a bunch of people, but how do we retain a bunch of people? I
Right.
mean, it's just how
Yeah.
it's just the beauty of the people world, right?
Yeah, and that's probably why you've been so successful at it, right? It's not just getting somebody in the door to sit behind the cashier for you. It's the true, like, provide them opportunities, right?
That's
Like, give them a live opportunity for prosperity, all those amazing things. So, no, love that. Talk to me a little about the transition from C store staffing to all of a sudden you're at Dunkin', right? I'm
yeah,
assuming that was the first time you had restaurant exclusively. Were there
yeah.
a lot of differences, or to you, it kind of felt like the same?
It felt very similar as far as what you needed. A job that you're on your feet, you're moving around, you're always, I call it head on the swivel. You always have to be, present
Same
and
same
attentive.
pay range, right? Same
The
pay
what?
range same
Yeah,
pay range between the 2?
very similar.
Got it.
I think that I did not pay close attention to drive-throughs.
Oh,
So at C-store, it's just like, so drive-through is totally new to me. Also, it in my previous life, like, I have developed a sense that people really care about their coffee, right? It's like in a C-store, if you don't have the right cup of coffee, it's sort of your fault, right? You
yeah,
make their
right,
own. Here, it's like you have to be, not only that you have to be accurate, you have to be fast, you have to be friendly,
right.
and those components sometimes that we think they're easy, but sometimes they're not. So
Yeah.
the transition, I came from a 24-hour business. We don't have 24-hour store, so that was a little bit of change
Oh,
too.
interesting. Yeah,
But the basis of the business, treating your guests, we call them guests, your guests right, be fast and accurate, be offer a good sense of hospitality, right? Be open your doors like this your home. It was very similar.
yeah.
So the
Talk to
size
me.
of the business, yeah.
Yeah, talk to me a little bit about the nuances of the drive-through, because I think that's, like, really interesting, right? And I don't think a lot of people understand. They're just like, "Oh, you work in a restaurant," but the drive-through, it's tough, right? And
It
I'm
is.
always amazed when I'm going through the drive-through with my kids, and I'm ordering something that my kids are screaming a different order in the back, and then I drive through to pay, and that person's taking my money, handing me food, and somehow pressing all the buttons on the thing, right? And
Yeah.
that is a challenging, fast paced, like, type thing. But curious to hear your thoughts on that.
Yeah.
Like, why was it? How do you staff for that role specifically? And, like, you look for a different type of person. Like, what's your thoughts there?
Yeah, I think that when you're looking at a type of role, I mean, I think it's multitasking at its finest, right? You have to hear what they're telling you. You also have to connect with people.
Right.
Like our people do it like it's nothing. I went to store training when I started, and I tell you, you don't want me on the drive-through for
Yeah.
sure. I
Yeah.
mean, it's just multitasking at a different level. I think that uh, what we center around is really hospitality and good customer service. So when you think about the drive-through business, you are a voice for the majority of the transaction,
Yep.
and then you are the ones that I call it the last impression, right? Because you're handing the food to somebody, so that the very short, typically 150 seconds or less connection between the guest and their products is that person. So you typically will see, not that it is a different hiring method, but you typically see people that are, in a perfect world, excited, going to give you a good experience, take the best out of those seconds for sure. And what happens behind the scene is fascinating. In addition to the drive-through, because the person on the drive-through in our business is not the same person making your drink, right? So to your point, you have you taking the order, you're seeing, I hope you're not the only order that they're making. So you see an expediter coming in and checking the order, you see people putting the order in, so you have to make sure that you got the right stuff, you have to make sure you don't forget the napkin. So I think that role specifically to me opened my eyes to like, man, you have to be somebody that's agile. You have to be somebody that it's provides a good guest experience and that can really multitask. So to me, that was fascinating. My old job, you find those qualities, but it's a little more cookie cutter, if you will.
Yeah, yeah. Because I think I like whenever I see a long drive-through line, it is to me the clearest indication and the easiest way to explain to somebody that if you have the right staff in place, you will make more money. And if you do not have the right staff in place, you will lose money. Because if there's a long line, people will absolutely drive by. We do it
Uh,
every day. It's like when we're coming down Highway 17 here in Charleston, we have screaming kids in the back and we want the easiest plate of food that we can get, right? So we're
yeah,
like, oh, we're going to go there. No, two line. Or, hey, we can actually just get right in there and we know that they're fast. Then that's when you get the business. And, you start talking about, especially during COVID and, as labor market gets more competitive now and people are coming back, that shortage still is really hurting, not just, it being, fun in the restaurant, but also like really impacting operators' bottoms and top lines, right?
100%.
And when you think about, doing it at a larger scale, right? Like you have less control over each individual restaurant, just because like if you wanted to staff one restaurant, I'm confident you could do that. Maybe two, maybe three, number four, number five, number six. But now you're almost 90 locations. You're pushing 100, right? And you're responsible for a lot of different things and needing to make sure you're 100% staffed to make sure you get all of the money from all these different locations. It's a really daunting task,
That's
right?
right.
From everything from communicating with team members to recruiting them at scale. Like, how do you sleep at night? Like, what's the biggest concern? What's the biggest challenge with that? As you're getting bigger and bigger.
Yeah, I think we one of the on the recruitment aspect, if we talk about that first, is one of our main objectives is to make sure that we have a clear value proposition for our team members.
Mm.
So make sure that they know what to expect when they come to Bluemont Duncan, and make sure that after they know what to expect, that we live to those expectations. So
Mm.
clear value proposition for everybody on the recruitment front. I think what and we have been able to obtain a good sense of who we need, who we hire. I think the world recruitment, whether you're working for Dunkin' or any other brand, it's a very small world, right? Like the applicants are looking to take advantage of a job, and there are they're applying for 5 6 different places, and the ones that are closest to meeting their needs is the one that they're going to choose from.
Mm.
A mentor of mine a long time told me, he said, if you don't treat your people right, somebody else will. So it's very important that we have a very clear north of who we want. And we dive in a lot into the why people leave. I mean, that's one of my passions. So what we're trying to figure out is through engagement surveys or through what calling coffee talks, or our CEO and I sit down with hourly team members every year, and then we talk about like, hey, are we focused on the right things? How do you feel about what we're doing? Are we living to our values? We're a value driven organization, and as long as you have a clear north of that and you live to those expectations, we are going to be fine. Our turnover has been cut in half in the last 3 years,
Wow.
so we're in a very good position. But what keeps me up at night, honestly speaking, is how the market continues to switch and change. Right?
Mm.
How, as an organization, we are to your point almost 90 stores, but we still want to be able to have the touch of a very small organization, right? We
Yeah.
probably are not small enough to, I call it, manage to walk around, right? That you can go to every location every week. But we want to be agile and connected enough that never loses sight of what our team members need. So what keeps me up at night is, as we continue to scale, are we going to be able to accomplish that? Do we have what we need to be able to continue to do that? I'm confident that we can, but I tell you, that's always on top of mind.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's so interesting that over the last 3 years, it's been a very challenging labor market, of course. and you say, "Hey, we cut our turnover in half," right?
Yeah.
And what strikes me in the very beginning, you said, "Hey, I've been at the company for 3 years." So for me, I'm like, okay, what is the Renzo secret sauce? Like, what have you done over the last 3 years that has put you in a position? And you don't have to give away your trade secrets,
For
but
sure.
what are some of like the high level things that you feel like you brought to the role, the company, or the way that you look at hiring and people that helped you and the business really grow and succeed here?
Yeah, some is a little tactical, and I would say that I think sometimes when you're talking about staffing, you're talking about two components on staffing. True numbers, which is how many people do I need to run my organization, my store, my business, and then the feeling on staffing. How does the main person in the store, which is a general manager, feel about how their store is operating? Is it operating with the right person? So one of the first things that we did, um, with the help of my team, is understanding what fully staffed means. So we said, let's put some solid numbers together behind. If somebody says I'm short staffed, what is that north to be?
Mm,
So we did that. And again, it's not a perfect science, but at least it gives you an idea. It would definitely tell you that you're short staffed, no doubt.
right.
And then, the other thing is, like, I think sometimes HR professionals focus a lot on hires, right? Which is, at the end of the day, that's the output. But I think sometimes as HR professionals, we don't focus enough on application flow.
Mm,
How many applicants are coming to your door? Because let's say if you need two people, but your applicants are only four, you're picking 50% of them,
right.
right?
Right.
But if I can provide the stores with, 10x that, then they'll make better decisions when it comes down to hiring the right individual for the store.
Mm,
So we have done, the beginning of my journey was focusing, you know, uh, a lot on application flow.
mm,
A little bit work before that, make sure that our ads were correct, make sure that, we are offering the correct value proposition.
yep.
After that, we did some research on what makes people at Dunkin' tick, right? It was, attachment to the mission, vision, and values of the organization, opportunities to be developed, and opportunities to grow. Communication was huge. Out of those three, the first one, the biggest complaint was like, you're growing, but talk to me still.
Mm,
So I need to understand what's happening in the organization, and I need to be able to play along with you, per se. So we attack communication, 100%. So we establish a platform that can help, a texting platform that will help um, communicate with folks at different tenures in
yep.
uh, in through their journey, which I'm excited that it's
Oh,
fun.
we don't name technology platforms on the podcast, but I know
Okay.
what you're getting at. But yes, yes. So
Okay.
I
Yeah,
know,
so
I
1430.
know, I know the platform intimately. Believe it or
Got
not.
it.
Yeah.
So 14, 30, 60, 90 days, we'll say, hey, how you doing? What's going on? Tell me a little bit about um, your journey. And I tell you, AJ, I think that to us hit a whole new level of connection,
Mm,
just because I don't think we received 90% of the feedback was positive. So it
yep.
was like, hey, we love it here, we like it here, and all that. But the small percentage of the challenge that we have is what I call low hanging fruit. Simple things
Like
that
what?
you
Give me
fix.
an example.
Hey, I thought I would get paid on Friday, but my paycheck is not here. And in fact, we should, we said, oh, we need to explain how the pay periods work in a better way.
Right.
Or like as simple as like, hey, you didn't have the right shirt size for me. I need a X size and you only have this. When can I get another one?
Yep.
Or like, hey, my store needs, I need more hours. How do
Right.
I go by that?
Yeah.
Or like, hey, I want to get promoted. I heard there's a lot of opportunity here. How do I do that? So sometimes and it's through texting. So sometimes people um, do not maybe don't have the courage or don't know where to go to ask this type of questions. Everybody texts,
Yeah.
no doubt about it. So this provided us with an avenue to be able to connect with them and honestly take care of challenges immediately.
Right.
And then you saw the turnover curve just keep going down and down and down and
Yeah,
down.
it's a feel like what's really interesting, and not talking too much about the technology platforms, but just like the concept of like creating an open environment where people could just give feedback that they might not even just want to nuance the GM with. Like,
That's
oh,
right.
my shirt, like I need a large, but you only had smalls. So
That's,
it's kind of like the little things of I feeling like I don't belong here,
that's
right?
right.
Like they don't have something for me that I need that. Like if I join a company, maybe I don't say that because I'm like, oh, I don't know how much I can
Yeah.
do, or I'll just squeeze into a shirt I'm a little bit uncomfortable with,
Yeah.
and
But I'm
it's
not doing that long term, right? I mean, the
right,
pay is a good example. It's like if we didn't answer to this person that, hey, paydays are on Monday and not on Friday, the immediate thought is, okay, you're trying to take my money potentially, right? Like what you told me this and you didn't tell me that. And we would not be, unfortunately, had a chance or opportunity to explain. So
yeah,
we're able to do that. And that's one of the things that we have done. We worked on wages. We worked on, again, Bluemont had a very strong mission and vision. We needed some work on putting the values into play, right? So, like, what are those non-negotiables, if you will? So we have respect, integrity, serve, and excellence.
yep,
It's easy to demonstrate. It's easy to talk about. It's easy to do or not do. So we have been able to. We are 2.5 years into the value journey, and that continues to pay dividends. There's still a lot of work to do, like any of the people that are probably listening today saying,
yeah.
I mean, it's a long journey, but it certainly has been a fun one, and we are looking forward to continue to
Yeah,
understand what takes them.
and amongst a lot of the things we talked today, I think, summarizing, one of the ways that you guys anticipate to grow is staying close with your team members with communication tools,
Yeah,
right? And constantly feeding them your values, and that and builds kind of a facility for you all to continue to grow into, I mean, hopefully 500 units eventually, right? Like
hey, we
the
hope
goal
so,
of 1,000, right? Like
for sure.
like keep growing. But we are up on time, Renzo. I feel like we're gonna have to do part 2, part 3, part 4, part
Let's
5 of
do it.
this. But if somebody wants to get in touch or learn more about Bluemont, what's the best way for them to do that?
I mean, they can happy to take an email or a personal note, and I can connect. I love sharing. I also love learning from others. So Renzo B at BluemontGroup.net. Renzo B at BluemontGroup.net. I'll be happy to connect, and more than anything, AJ, I appreciate the opportunity. And look forward to connecting again.
Great. Thank you so much, Renzo.
You bet.